Ladies and gentlemen, today is Wednesday, March 18, 2026, the 19th day of the war on Iran. The Iranian regime still survives, although Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, was killed in the first day. Many of his ministers, many of his officers, the army officers, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard officers, Basij officers, many of the people who, the core of the regime got killed by Israel, by the United States of America, and yet the regime still exists. How can they be defeated? And you know why they exist. In order to exist, they don't need nuclear weapons. In order to exist, they don't need missiles or air force or a navy. All they need is Kalashnikov rifles in the streets, in the hands of the Basij, and the Basij have the permission or the order to kill as many people as they can, as we saw only recently in December and January 2026. Means that as long as the security forces, the Basij and the IRGC, are united and fighting the population, nobody can take the regime out of their hands, because they will kill anyone who try to do anything in the street. So what do we expect? That these people without weapons, without arrangements, without equipment, military equipment, without anything which enables them to face militarily the security organizations, they cannot change the regime. They cannot defeat the regime, and the regime will continue to slaughter them as much as needed in order to survive. And this is what happens in Iran already for 19 days, and I think that nobody will run to the streets without without weapons, without any ability to fight those IRGC and the Basij forces in the streets who keep the regime in their hands. So what can be done? Well, for this we have to learn something about the Iranian population. This is the Iranian map. The Persian, and this is the ethno-religious distribution. The center is Persian, while the periphery are ethnic minorities. Balochis in the southeast, Arabs in the Kurdistan or Ahwaz area, the green, Kurdish are in yellow, adjacent to Iraq, Azerbaijanis adjacent to their brothers in Azerbaijan who were under the Soviet Union until 35 years ago. Turkmens, the continuation of the Turkmens who also were under the Soviet Union, and so forth. And altogether, there are like 80 ethnic groups in Iran, and these are the main minorities. The Kurdish one and the Balochis are Sunni, are not even Shia. And they hate the regime, they hate the Persians, and they definitely want to be liberated. The Arabs in Khuzestan also do not want the Persians over their heads because of various reasons, especially the oppression which they were suffering from for many years since the mullahs took over 47 years ago. These Kurdish and Balochi minorities have militias, armed, trained, and willing to go to fight the IRGC, which controls the Kurdish area and the Balochi area. With protection from the air by the American and the Israeli air forces, they can give good fight against the IRGC, which controls their areas. The Arabs also, they have people on the ground with weapons. And if they hear that the Kurdish and the Balochis actually revolt against the regime, they will also start. And this will make a whole strip of rebellion against the Iranian central regime in Tehran. And not only this, 100% of the sources of oil and gas, which are in the Kurdish area and the Arab area, and this is the Hormuz Straits, 100% of the oil and gas will be lost by Iran because these minorities will control the oil and the gas. Tehran, whoever will control it, whether the mullahs or others, will be impoverished. They will have no money to reconstruct their missile program, to rebuild their nuclear program, to rebuild their air force, navy. They will not have any access to any sea. This is the Caspian Sea, which is an enclave. So they will not have any power to do all kinds of problems as they did until the war in Iraq and in Syria and in Lebanon, in Gaza, and many other places as well, also in South America. Ladies and gentlemen, this is apparently the only way how to defeat the Iranian regime, by uprising of the minorities, the Kurdish, the Arab, and the Baluchi, who hate the central regime in Iran tremendously. The only thing is that we have to help those militias in these areas to fight against the IRGC, which is now weakened because of the hits which they got from Israel and from the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, this is apparently the only way how to defeat, finally, the regime in Tehran, in spite of the fact that the people in Tehran and other cities have no weapons. The Kurdish minority, the Baluchi one, and the Arab ones can give a good fight in order to defeat the IRGC, which will liberate those ethnic groups and 100% of the oil and gas which belongs today to Iran. Without this oil and gas, Iran will be almost nothing. This is the only way, apparently, how to continue and how to end successfully this very important war against the worst, or almost the worst, regime in the world. If we take the North Korean, is even worse. This is the only way how to continue and to succeed to defeat this axis of evil which is centered in Tehran. Thank you so much.